Yasha was a unique character in Critical Role Campaign 2 because of the fact that Ashley was not able to be there a ton. Because of this, it was oftentimes necessary to find why she was not in the story, whether Matt had to pilot her or send her away, but the point was, she oftentimes did not interact with everybody and was gone for a large portion of the campaign. And this led to a very interesting scenario where she seemed incredibly mysterious. In fact, mysterious was one of the most important things about her. We saw many times that people speculated about who she was, what her past was, but what we didn't know was that she didn't know her past. Yasha was mysterious to the core, even to herself, and this would lead, eventually, to one of the most heartbreaking moments of betrayal in the entire campaign.
I am a coward, I guess.
Yasha, you're not a coward.
Oh.
You're one of the bravest people I've ever met.
But before we get fully into the video, I'd like to take a second to thank today's sponsor, Many World Taverns. Now, there's a lot of different products that you can advertise when it comes to TTRPGs, but I'm going to be 1000% honest, Many Worlds Tavern is one of the more interesting ones. They are an online coffee roasting and tea company, which I know doesn't seem like it's related to TTRPGs, but they found an amazing way to mash their actual genuine passion for TTRPGs with their coffee brand. Having many flavors that are inspired by different aspects from your different TTRPG games, they also go out of their way to make sure that you have so many things to enjoy outside of just their amazing coffee and tea, which I've tried and I genuinely love. In the package that they sent me, they actually included some different cards that could be used for different trading card games, as well as some magic items for D&D that are genuinely really fun to use. Not only this, the actual coffee they send me is amazing. My favorite roast so far being the Great Old One, which is one of their darkest roasts, and that's one of my favorites. Seriously, my wife makes me some amazing coffee and she used these beans to do it recently, and it has been some of my favorite coffee that she's made in a long time. If you want to check the details in the link in the description, it'll take you right to their page, and tell them that I sent you, because I just want to be able to support those who are doing what they're passionate about. Speaking of passion, let's go back to Yasha and the very heavy topic that we have today. The funny thing about betrayal is you have to open yourself up to it. And that's what made the moment so heartbreaking, because it was a betrayal to everybody, but even to Yasha. See, when we first meet her, we don't know a lot about her. She's traveling with her very ostentatious companion, Molly Mocktealeaf. And the two of them seem to get along, but don't seem to know a lot about each other. And that's kind of the point. They're okay not knowing a lot about each other. That's kind of how they prefer it. And over the time of the story, we begin to learn a little bit more about Yasha, but not a lot. We learn that she was at one point kicked out of her tribe for loving somebody else, and that she wandered for some time, but doesn't have any memory of what happened during that wandering.
I left and I'm sure they were coming after me, and I got into the wastes of Yashas, and something happened. There's time that I cannot account for. I was out there for months by myself, and it seems like I woke up months later and I looked different and I felt different. And I woke up at an altar of the Storm Lord. And he saved me. For what yet, I don't know. But hopefully I can be a better champion for him. And fulfill whatever purpose that he has for me.
We really don't know hardly anything about her, and because Ashley kept having to leave the table in order to take care of other responsibilities, it would remain that way. Until the point where it was one of the best moments for her to leave, when Molly Mocktealeaf died. Her one friend, the one person who understood her, was gone. And see, Molly also didn't know about his past, so the two of them had this incredible connection with each other where they truly felt like they knew each other without having to know each other. Neither one of them knew a lot about their past, but they were both okay with that. And with Molly gone, that was her one companion that was still there. And so she left. And she would go and come back many times, and still we didn't get to know a lot about her until they met Oban. See, at one point they get into a fight with somebody, and when he sees Yasha, he stares at her. It's like there's a moment of connection and understanding, and he says, "I know you," and calls her a name, Orphan Maker.
sees you walk in, and just kind of gives an amused glance, looks past and looks at Yasha and goes, Orphan Maker.
Oh, backstory! Shit. Lord up! Backstory! Lord up!
This is the draft. Who?
You do not recognize this person.
Who just said that? Because I just got real. Everything went.
The Drows. And
It's so interesting because until this point we have known basically nothing about her, but suddenly we know that somebody out there knows Yasha's past. She knows what she's been through, and now this is the one time where Yasha will have the chance to learn what happened. It's interesting, however, as we see this, because they do end up chasing down Oban, and part of it is to learn what's going on with Yasha, but part of it is because they must stop him. However, it's almost like Yasha is hesitant to do so. It's very fun to watch Ashley roleplay because Ashley is sort of a subdued role player for the most part. She tends to play things pretty close to her chest and only reveals things when the moment feels right. And with Yasha, we see that there's this sort of conflict. It's like she doesn't actually want to go chase down Oban, because the thing is, at some point, it seems like she became okay not knowing what happened. She became okay having this chunk of her life missing because she knows deep down something wrong happened. She committed some sort of atrocity, something she must atone for, and if she is to go after Oban, if they are truly catch him, they'll find out what she did. And so there's this conflict of knowing that she must chase after Oban, but being horrified of what she may find out. She doesn't want to know her past, but it is racing towards her, or more importantly, she's racing towards it, and there is no choice. It must happen. And so eventually the group does track down Oban. They find him in these ruins, and there are plenty of puzzles, magical traps, you know, a typical D&D dungeon.
Can I touch one of the mirrors and see if I see anything in there?
okay. So you walk up to the mirrors and put your hand to
Just
it?
whichever's closest, yeah.
Okay. So you
I don't know. You touch the. Hey, Ford. You touch the mirror?
I did.
I love again.
You kind of walk up to the mirror, put your hand to it. The reflection is kind of warm to the touch.
That's different.
The Yasha in the mirror looks back at you and smiles and grabs you and pulls you into the mirror.
But the entire time Yasha's growing more and more concerned, more things begin coming up. It's like she's fighting against herself, fighting against herself. She's horrified to come into this contact, to fight this battle, but it must happen, and eventually they track down Oban only to find out he has successfully resurrected what he came to do. He has brought back the Laughing Hand, this horrible abomination, and something about it, its horrible laughter ringing throughout the battlefield, is too familiar to Yasha.
As the lid of the sarcophagus flies into the ceiling, shatters in a cloud of dust and stone, you watch as a giant, pale, meaty hand grabs the edge, the mist parts, as you see a hood and cloak, deep brown and oily, black stained in places, rise out of it, standing to a full 10 feet in height. The cloak obfuscating much of the torso, dangling just past the forearm area, where you see the one large hand lifting itself up. You see just beneath the hood a bit of a sagging open jaw, sharp broken teeth, the skin itself pale, dirty, and weirdly twisted to look like some sort of horrifying mockery of a human face, with just the bit you can see. You see like red stained leather that goes across the body and legs, heavy boots as it steps out. The right hand is missing below the forearm, and where the hand would be, you see a long, double-sided blade affixed and built into its arm.
Oh shit.
Watching Ashley, we can see that she's incredibly nervous over the course of this entire battle, that she feels like something is going to go wrong, but this is still Yasha's chance to finally strike down her past. If she is to kill Oban, he is the one who knows about her past, and if he is to die, she no longer has to worry about it. She no longer has to wonder what's going to happen. It will be done. Her past will be dead and buried, and she can finally move on, knowing she doesn't have to face it And it actually comes down to the point where it seems like this is going to happen. Ford gets the final strike slicing through Oban, and as he begins to melt into this gross, corrupted ichor, he looks over his shoulder, stares at her, and says, "Avenge me." And she says, "Never. Never will I have anything to do with you. Never will I have anything to do with my past. It is done."
Glances over towards Yasha as he's falling and says, "Avenge me."
Never.
Or is it?
Make a wisdom saving throw with disadvantage.
What?
It's funny, because D&D has this weird way of allowing you to use mechanics for a storytelling vice. The ability to use mechanics to tell a story to the table that the actual characters don't get to see. And we get to see this exactly in this moment. When she says never, she stares down Oban, and Matt says the words, "Make a wisdom saving throw." See, isn't that really funny? Because in that moment, what's being communicated is this is not over. You may think it's over, but it's not. Even though the characters at the table don't know what's going on, the players do. There is something else about to happen, and happen it does. Failing the saving throw, Yasha feels something change, something shift. She begins to remember more stuff about her, and she turns to look at her group with a different look in her eye. Ford attempts to get her out of there. He rushes forward and attempts to teleport out, but unfortunately that spell only works if the target is willing, and Yasha is no longer willing.
I will cast Thunderstep and try and take Yasha with me. A willing creature goes
The creature
instantly.
is not willing.
A non-willing creature. Interesting.
This is the moment where the betrayal begins to set in, the hurt begins to come, and as Yasha begins attacking her teammates, it's this horrible look of both the players trying to figure out what to do and the characters genuinely mourning this moment. You could see not trying to give a flower to Yasha as she runs away, trying to desperately remind Yasha of what she loves, the flowers which she picks because it reminds her of her wife. We see Jester staring up at her saying, "I hate this, I hate this." We see her running away, barely escaping as her friend tries to chop her to pieces.
Snap out of it, Yasha. And oh no, I hate it. And I'm gonna run through the door.
Everybody attempts to help them. Caleb begins to create this wall of fire, but they must shove Yasha out because they can't save her. Eventually Beauregard gets to the door and she begins to close it once again, slowly causing it to close as everybody has to rush through, attempting to escape. We see everybody constantly moving back and forth, trying to get everybody in, desperately attempting to get through. And all the while, Yasha slowly approaches, the laughing hand emerging from the fire beside her. They are staring down their friend and they must make the decision. Do they abandon all hope? Do they close these doors? Or do they save her? And the decision is made as Jester shouts out Yasha's name and the door closes.
Yasha!
I think one of the more interesting things to take into account here is understanding the aftermath of this very terrible situation for the party. See, we understand that Matt asked Ashley to make a wisdom saving throw, but to the point of the Mighty Nine, it doesn't seem that way. All we know is that she was told to avenge Oban, and she began doing so. And they can hope and pray that this was something else that happened, that there was a magical effect, but they also have to take into account that they did not know Yasha. They didn't know her past, they didn't truly know what happened to her. And so in this case, can they really trust her? Is this a friend to be saved? Or was this a genuine betrayal? And it is so interesting seeing the party come into conflict with that, trying to discuss with each other whether they should truly trust Yasha anymore, whether they should save her.
I want to talk to Yasha more than anything.
What are you thinking?
I just want to know what happened. Want to know if it's her. We've been played the whole time. How stupid are we?
It wasn't. We talked to her. We talked to her in her quietest moments. That wasn't her.
Yeah, we were a bunch of fast talkers, and where did it get us? Here.
I don't think this was all for nothing.
No one's stupid. Look at us. I mean, any one of us could have turned in there and we would all be saying, "I told you so." No one's stupid.
I mean, we said 80 times that we knew we were walking into a trap and that we knew that this guy wanted Yasha. And she said, "I want to go first." We said, "Get in the middle, protect you." She wanted to go first. We wouldn't have been able to stop that.
Some of them question if this was just her plan the whole time. It's genuinely heartbreaking and exceedingly emotional. Watching them attempt to try and figure this out with each other is one of the most interesting things of this entire story, because eventually they would have to try and save her. But is that something that was worth doing? And many times in our TTRPG games, we have to understand that the mechanics are not something that the player characters see. Yes, the players knew she made a wisdom saving throw, but the characters didn't. And so they have to grapple with the reality of that. A lot of the times we let the mechanics infect the storytelling without realizing maybe we should just let the characters be themselves. And watching that happen here is very interesting. And the worst part about this betrayal is that you must open yourself up to betrayal. And they open themselves up to trusting Yasha when Yasha could not even trust herself. And now in this moment, Yasha feels this betrayal too, because she feels she has betrayed everybody. After the game, Matt sits just Ashley down and begins to talk with her, speak with her, explain to her that she is trapped within her own body.
You see yourself receded into your consciousness, looking through a tiny window. Your body not your own. Frozen in emotion, watching your friends scream and flee. You see the hulking mammoth, laughing hand, an entity you had heard the name once or twice in the past, but had long forgotten, blacked out like all these memories. And you see it slam, and slam, and slam into these barriers. You help. The two of you together watch as the first barrier begins to crack and break, and then shatter over time. But you have no control. Or do you? That thought scares you. Before the behemoth lumbers off, slowly clawing both of your way to freedom once more, you step back into the chamber and gather in your hands the remaining ichor that once was Oban.
Player agency is a very interesting thing. Player agency is something you must be exceedingly careful with as a DM. The whole point of playing tabletop games is to have agency, and so to take it away from a player is so dangerous. But Matt and Ashley have an amount of trust, and not only this, we know that Ashley must leave the table. She must go handle her outside responsibilities. And such a thing then affects what happens in the game and makes the betrayal even more hurtful, because everybody at the table feels this betrayal for the characters, but also the sadness of knowing that Ashley has to go for a while. It is a double-edged sword where the amazing events of life infuse into the game to create an even more tragic moment. Not only are we losing Yasha, but we also have to lose Ashley. And they don't know if Ashley's going to come back as Yasha or a new character. It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And we get to see this play out throughout the course of the entire battle. We get to see this horrible moment of betrayal, but we also get to remember in the last things that Matt says to Ashley.
Holy moly.
We're gonna miss you, Ashley.
Oh, me too!
They love Ashley. They will miss her. She is their friend. Yes, this story is one where they can experience things. They can feel all together. They will all feel at the table these betrayals, these emotions, but they all love each other and they all just want to experience storytelling together. It's fascinating, it's encouraging, it's elating, and it's sad. It's a beautiful moment of seeing people be human, missing their friend, but enjoying spending time with her and feeling these emotions together. I think it is a beautiful moment of really explaining the core of what tabletop games are. A bunch of people at a table who just want to feel together and want to have a good time. And this moment will always remind me of that. And it's an incredibly impactful story moment that eventually would lead to a great triumph, which maybe we'll talk about sometime. If you want to watch more Critical Role live play breakdowns, you can go right here and go through my whole catalog. Go out into the world and make it your own.